homesteading to prepping to common horse sense, we are College Hill Farm. Welcome back to College Hill Farm. Well, today we are going ahead with our mill project. We're close to the end. This is probably the last video I'll do just on setting this up. So what I have done to get ready for today's video, I have went ahead and cut slotted bolts. Well, that one won't go in. Did I do something wrong? Yeah, I haven't trimmed that one enough. I didn't test all these. That one going in just fine. And this one, it could use a little more trimming, but it'll be okay. And this one. Okay, so I'll go back over to the grinder and grind this one down just a little bit more, and then we'll get started. Here is my cross feed table, and what I want to do is I want to get a clamp on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this back out of the way of the drill. You can move this table. You lock it down when you get it where you want it, but you can move that table, and it makes it real handy to position things. You just move the table out of the way, and then you can position your stuff. So I'm going to go ahead, let's get a clamp on here. Now, I showed you this in a previous video. Pull these back. Now, it won't go that way. It'll have to go on like this. I don't like that. That's going to be a problem because I can't square this to the table. Wow. What in the world am I going to do about that? Again, like I remind you, this is a work in progress. So now, let's see what I can do. Let's take these two bolts out. That was still a little hard. If I set this right like that, then I've got a whole lot of vise left over here. That's not what I want. What about setting it like this with just two bolts on it? Can I do that? Put it right up like that. That might be sufficient. So let's put a washer on and a nut. I really don't like it because this is going to be in the way of that. So let's turn it around the other way. Let's do that the other way. Let's put my bolts on this side. Come on. Now, one of the things I'm concerned about is when it comes to travel. I want to have enough travel with something in the vise for this to work. Let's see. Square this end up. Now let's put some nuts on it. Now what I've done here is right here to this side, I'm going to square the vise to this edge. That way it should be 90 degrees. Should be. Get on there. Now I have an opportunity to put a bolt right there too, so I don't know if I should do that or not. I'm going to put these on and see if they are sufficient to hold this in place while I'm machining. If they're not sufficient, then I'll have to try something else on them. Right here, I have just mounted this vise with a single. I could put another bolt right there so it would have two, but I've got a sneaking feeling that that's going to be enough. I've mounted a bolt here and a bolt over here to hold this vise on. And I squared the vise, the edge of the vise, with the edge of this table back here. So it ought to be square. For the heck of it, see this bit that's in here? This is a rounded groove router bit. This thing is awesome for carving stuff like spoons and that kind of stuff. You can see exactly what you're doing. Okay? You set this table over there where you've got a nice smooth surface to work on. You can see exactly what you're doing. I even made a piece of plywood that mounts to this with bolts, okay, so that I can take that piece of plywood and use it as a flat surface to do these to do carving, and wow, it was awesome. So that's something that I'm going to be able to do too. Now this table, as you can see, it's way too high. So what I'm going to do is lower it down now. And pull this over here where it should fit. Okay, can you see that all right? Turn on some light here. I don't know if it'll make any difference or not. There's the bit. Now, one of the things that I work with here a lot is just stupid little pieces of PVC pipe. And I make them into everything in the world. But in a piece of pipe, it is hard as heck to make a groove in a piece of PVC pipe. I know that sounds crazy, but it is hard to make a groove that you can use in a piece of PVC pipe without busting the pipe. Brought a piece of pipe with me this morning. Let me clamp it into this. Okay, that's clamped in there tight without deforming the pipe. So I'm just going to center this on this pipe and lock the table down. Roll this back. See, these are come loose again, so they're going to have to be tightened up. We talked about these before. They have a tendency to want to get loose. It lets the table move. There, that solided it up a lot. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this bit down, lock it into place, and see if I can cut a groove in this PVC pipe without busting it. Okay, let's get this on. Got my lock down. That is just with a router bit. Okay, it's got some rough places in it. What I did when I was doing that there, what happened was this lower one moved. Okay, it spun, so you really have to get a hold of that and hold it still so that it doesn't spin. So yeah, so it's going to be a two-handed machining operation. Now, we've machined brass already, so there's no reason to machine copper or anything like that. But what I do want to do is I want to know if this will cut steel. That's going to be the real test of this, if it will cut steel. So that's the next thing we're going to machine, and I know it's what you want to see us machine. So I'm going to get this rolled back. But before I do that, there are some problems inherent in this system. Okay? Number one, let me show you. Number one, look right here. Look what's happening to these threads. That plastic is going right under them. Okay? So that is going to be a problem. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to keep that from happening. I think I've got a way. The same thing is happening with these threads. Okay, on this. That's also getting stuff in it. I've had to clean it once already before. So I want to keep the chips from getting down in there. Well, I've got a solution. It may not be a perfect solution, but I've got a solution, and I'm going to show you. What I've got here is a sheet protector, and I'm going to cut it in half. Now, do better off with my knife. Alright, now I've cut this in half. And what am I going to do to protect that is I'm going to do this right here. Let me get you down here where you can see better. Okay, I'm going to take this sheet protector, cut it off about right here. Because the truth is, that's not all the way that way right now. But, so it'll need some extra. I'm going to take that, put it right like that. And now, I'm not going to drill any holes or anything like that. I'm going to do something simple. I keep these magnets from Harbor Freight around all the time. I use them for everything in the world. So, we'll pull these out. Come on out of there. Now these babies are very heavy duty. So they're going to hold really, really tight. So I'm going to take that and put it right like that. And now the things are deflected. Up here on the vise, I'm going to do the same thing. Put it right like that, and that will deflect the pieces of stuff that are going to come off there. And it's just easy to lift up so I can tighten and loosen my vise. Okay? Now, I want to cut steel. Now, just think for a minute. This is plastic. Okay? When you're cutting steel, the tip of your bit develops about 1200 degrees. So, this might not hold up. What do you think I could use if this doesn't hold up? Okay, these are cheap. You can buy 100 of them for $3 at the dollar store. But what if in cutting steel, cutting plastic, it won't phase this at all. Cutting brass, it probably won't phase at all, or aluminum. But what about cutting steel? Well, steel, the chips come off there at 400 or 500 degrees, 6. It might be too hot there. So this might not work when I'm using steel, but it might work just fine. I don't know. It's a test, but what might I use? Well, I might use an oven baking sheet. Okay, one of those silicone oven baking sheets, and do it exactly the same way. Just hold it on with a magnet. That way you can remove them, change them, whatever you need to do really, really quick. So now, let's get at doing steel. I'm going to rotate this table out of the way, and put me in a new bit. This is a 2-flute 5/16 bit. Okay? It's a high-speed steel. It's not carbide. Okay, so you can't cut as fast with it. You have to go a lot slower. Now I'm going to put a graphic up, and what that graphic's going to show you is the feed speeds for cutting steel, aluminum, brass. It'll have all that up there, and I'll actually put that table on my Facebook page so that you can look it up. Now, this is a 5/16 bit. Goes right in here. Okay, it's turning true. Where's my... What did I do with the thing? There it is. 1, 2, 3. Alright, it's all been done. Now, what I've got for steel, this is a piece of steel. You can see right here, it's just mild steel. It come off of a carryall that I was working on. I just wanted a piece of steel like the stuff I would be working on. So now, let's get this baby clamped in. Alright, that's clamped in. So now I want to move this over to the table. And you see I'm way too high, so I've got to lower the table. Let me loosen it a little bit more, because lowering the table it's got to be good and loose. Whoop. And that's why you can't use the table as a guide. There we go. There it is. Lock this down. Okay. Nope, I locked it in the wrong place. I let my fingers, my big old belly get in the way. It in. Now, come over, come back. There we are, centered on that piece of steel. Okay? Now, for cutting steel, the feed is between 100 and 120. So what you want to do is you want to figure out what the spindle RPMs are. Well, the feed rate is between 100 and 120. So it's 4 times, is that right? 4 times the speed. So in other words, 400, 4 times the speed rate listed on the chart that I'm going to put on Facebook. And I'll flash a picture of it up here too. 400 would be 4 times the speed, so it's 100 times 4, 400. And then divided by the diameter of the bit, 5/16. Well, 5/16, and I don't never remember that stuff because you can do it with a calculator. 5 divided by 16 is 0.3125. So you got 400 divided by 0.3125. So it needs to be 1200 RPMs. 1280. Well, on my saw, on my drill press here, I've got to set that down. Right now, for doing spoon carving and that kind of stuff, I've got it set at about 5,000 RPMs, 4,900 and some, whatever this thing says it goes to. But I need to get down to 1,200, so I'm going to get up here and change that. You can look, see in the other video, you saw how I changed it, so I'm not going to show you how to change it. And we're going to change it down to about 1,200 and then go from there. I've got it set. 1,150 was the fastest I could get. Was the closest to 1,200, so that's what I did. 1150. Now this is just a 2-flute high-speed steel bit. This has been welded, so this may not work too good, okay? That's been welded, so it may not work too good. So I'm going to move this and kind of get it where it's going to do its thing. Now I think it'll clear here, but I'm not certain. So I'm going to start by letting this run right here, and let's see if it'll clear. What I'm talking about with that move the whole table. Okay? Just move back into it. Again, this is hardened stuff, so I may milling off that weld is tough. Have you ever milled a weld? As far as this doing something, I think it's doing pretty good considering I'm milling a weld. Let me show you what it looks like. Okay, there's what I've milled so far. Okay, see, I've milled this top off. So far, so good. Now, let's get off of this weld and mill on this side, where it's just steel, where I cut it off with a bandsaw. So let's get this set up in there. I don't know if I've got that straight or not, but I'm not worried too much about that. But right now, I just want to see if it can mill it. Okay, that's into that, so The bandsaw didn't cut it perfectly flat. So let's give that a shot. Okay, here's what I've milled. Okay, one thing about it, it appears that this is not going to be affected by the steel, but the magnet, look right here. That magnet is catching almost all of it. So that's cool. This one's catching it too. But milling steel is going to be really, really, really slow. And I'm going to have to work on this table. So let's talk about that. Okay, milling steel is going to be really slow with this. Milling brass, the table didn't move. Milling aluminum, the table didn't move. Milling PVC, the table doesn't move. Okay, doesn't flex. Milling steel with this 2-flute mill, yeah, this table moves too much. So I'm going to have to get in here and maybe take this table apart and do a little work on the inside of the table so that it's smoother and does better. Now, which part do I think is not working? I think it's the cross feed table. I don't know for certain. Take these nuts loose and tighten that down quite a bit. See if that takes some of that out of there. Now can it lift up? Yes, it's still moving. So I'm going to have to do something about that. Could I mill a groove in steel? Yeah, but its accuracy is going to be in question because this table is moving too much. So I'm going to have to get at this table and see if I can figure out how to keep it from doing that. That's just one of them things, you know. So we may come back in the next video and show you all what we've done to the table in order to make it not move. You saw it would be cutting and then it'd go chunk and the table would jerk up. So I've got to stop that. So yeah. Now if you like this stuff, this homesteading, do-it-yourself kind of thing, be certain to come on out to the channel and subscribe. We do this homesteading stuff every week, sometimes 1, sometimes 5 videos. Just depends on what's going on in the homestead that week. Now if you hit the little bell when you come to the channel, it'll notify you when we upload a video. We upload on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Now, with that being said, it's time for me to get on to the next thing and delve into this table. If I figure it out today, I may come back to you in this video. Okay, with the wood, with the brass and the aluminum and plastic, this sits just fine. It sits good and tight, and it doesn't move because there's not being upward pressure put on. But when I'm using steel, when I'm cutting steel, the steel tends to want to chatter. So what's happening is is this is raising up. See the crack? That crack right there is about 40 thousandths of an inch. Okay? So I'm going to have to get something that goes in there to hold that up, or something that goes in here to hold it down. One of the two, but I've got about 40 thousandths of an inch. See, I may have to get something that goes in this, right in here, right in there, in that keyway, so that that is pushed up against the top. But the other side doesn't do that, just this side. Okay, so I've got to come up here and figure out something to go in there. And so that's probably something, I don't know if I'll do it in another video or not. I may show you making a part with a mill later on, but I've got to conquer this. I've got to conquer that, and you wouldn't believe what you can do with pop can shims. Just saying. Okay.